The Boys Season 3 Episode 4 Ending Explained. Episode 4 of the show, titled Glorious 5-Year Plan, was recently released. Following the boys heading to Russia and the dismantlement and rift in the Seven, I thought I'd jump into the episode and explain all that there is to take away from it. So let's get into it. Here is The Boys Season 3 Episode 4 Ending Explained. Just to let you know, this video will contain spoilers. Episode 4 was an interesting one for certain, that centered around what I would describe as both sides of the fence being rattled and dismantled from within. We saw the boys' inner circle crumbling in a number of different ways. For example, we saw Kimiko and Frenchie feeling as though they were ready to leave the group and lead a different life. Kimiko had finally reached a point where she saw her powers as a curse rather than a blessing, and she was not liking the fact that she was having to use them as part of her addition to the group. We saw her state this when she approached Butcher when she found out that he had powers. We also had Frenchie taking her side and realizing that no matter what he does, where he goes, or who he goes with, whether it be Little Nina or Billy Butcher, he's the little minion who carries out the tasks that nobody else would. They've both reached the end of their tether. However, with Kimiko being hit by the blast from Soldier Boy, it could be dismantled far sooner than we originally thought. We also had Mother's Milk, who after chatting with Butcher saw his value in the team after being told that he was a natural leader and that it was the reason he was originally recruited. However, after being lied to by Butcher when he took V24, which enabled him to have powers for 24 hours, we saw Mother's Milk mention how there's now essentially no team for him to lead anymore. They stand up to the Supes and don't believe in them, so Butcher getting powers goes against what they're fighting for. Whilst this was going on, we had Hughie with his arm hanging out of the window, feeling a world of emotions due to the fact that for a brief period of time he held power like never before. Earlier on, he mentioned how people perceive him as a loser, who's never able to stand up to anybody, but we did see him get a taste of power in this episode, with his transportation ability. It will be interesting to see the dynamic of the group moving forward after the events that occurred in this episode. On the other side, we had the Seven being broken from the top, the bottom, and within. We had Victoria Newman set up a press conference under the instruction of Stan to put Homelander in his place and gain back some authority. However, she went against the original order of doing so, and instead threw him under the bus, accusing him of blackmail and dodgy doings at the top of the company. She did this as part of a deal to get some Compound V off of Homelander, in order to give it to Zoe so she could protect herself, thus adding another Supe into the world. However, we do know that this can go wrong and has gone wrong in the past. Starlight spent the entirety of the episode aiming to recruit others into her group to take Homelander out once they acquired the weapon that supposedly killed Soldier Boy, which we now know isn't true. She recruited Supersonic, and then Supersonic then went on to recruit A-Train. This was a bad move though, as A-Train went on to tell Homelander of the plot, and in turn Homelander killed Supersonic for doing so in a Homelander fashion. Overkill galore. He threatened Starlight, saying that if she were to do anything like that again, that it would be Hughie that would be killed. I personally don't believe that A-Train would have gone to Homelander. Maybe he's trying to get back into his good books, but part of me does think that Homelander's trying to tear the Seven apart, and that's one way of doing so. It's clear to see that there are rifts in both of the groups, and it was interesting that this was one of the main focuses throughout the entirety of the episode from start to finish. We also had a couple of other revelations in this episode too. The main revelation that we saw was that Soldier Boy was actually still alive and had been kept contained in a container for many years. He also had adopted a new ability. He was able to shoot an extreme wealth of power out of his chest, something that the character originally didn't have the ability to do. I thought it was interesting when we saw Mother's Milk lay eyes on him for the first time. We know that he has a personal vendetta against him, and you could sense the amount of emotion in his eyes as he glanced over. Soldier Boy managed to escape, which is something he's obviously not been able to do for many years. I'm uncertain as to where he could go, but we're definitely going to see him go back to Vought headquarters. That's a given. Another big moment that occurred was Supersonic being killed. And yes, I did make a theory video on him, and that may be redundant now. But that's the nature of the boys. As quick as they get introduced, they can be killed. Homelander killed him for two reasons. One, because he was plotting against him with Starlight, but it was also due to the fact that it was a message to Starlight, to say that it will be Hughie next time if she continues. I think we're going to see a slightly different side to Starlight moving forward, as Homelander has now killed somebody that she genuinely did care about, and her vendetta against him is only going to grow stronger. It will just be about if she's still able to continue holding it all in, keeping a smile on her face and waiting for Hughie to save her. As he said. Kimiko being hurt by Soldier Boy is an interesting moment that happened in this episode too. She normally has the ability to heal, and we had a scene early on in the episode which highlighted to us as the audience that she has this ability and it worked fine when she was rescuing the women. However, after the blast from Soldier Boy, it appeared to be too strong and it wasn't enabling her to heal like she usually did. This could be hinting to us the sheer power that Soldier Boy now has, and maybe he could be the very thing that can destroy Homelander. The weapon is Soldier Boy. The group went there to find it, and I think they most certainly did. Hopefully Kimiko makes it through this though. The final main revelation in this episode was of Newman injecting Compound V into Zoe after cutting a deal with Homelander. Homelander wanted Vought to be run by Supes, seeing as though it's a superhero company, and also the reason that this will enable him to strengthen the hold that he has over everybody else. Newman injected Compound V into her sister, and we saw a horrific and immediate reaction to it happening. We've heard horror stories of people taking it in the past, so it is a risk in giving it to her, but she proceeded to anyway in order to keep her safe. It will be interesting to see if there will be another head popper, or if it will backfire and the person that she cares about most will have a horrible reaction to the injection, and in turn cause Newman to expose her true identity, due to not being able to contain her emotions, thus going on a rampage. This was a really good installment of the show that proved that the story is strengthening episode by episode, and we're only on episode 4. We've got a while to go, and I can't wait to see what the show is going to bring us next. If you want to see more content on the boys, such as the previous episodes explained, Supes explained, or theories and predictions, then hit on the I button. Or alternatively, you can head over to my channel where you'll find all of the videos. If you'd like to recommend a show or movie that you'd like me to talk about, then head over to my Twitter @brainpilot_, and tweet me what show or movie you'd like me to review next. Also, if you want to see what I rate other movies that just don't quite make the cut to getting a dedicated video, then head over to my Letterboxd profile where I rate all of the latest releases. What do you think is going to happen in episode 5 of The Boys? Leave a comment down below, and don't forget to subscribe. I'll see you next time.